Hello and welcome to another scene set in Desert of the Dark Crusade Season 2. Tonight we have the Seneschal of Timorin, the former Seneschal of Edessa, a known ancillary to the two courts, Sister Madeleine of Clan Lasombra. She's been invited to a meeting of those clan members of prominence within the region by the grandsire of Ulrich, the Prince of Timorin. The man known as Mahomet Antun. The meeting takes place in a familiar location. A large tower, largest one in the merchants district. The one you know, Madeleine, where you first met him. This time it has been changed. Moonlight still shines upon the room through the ornate carved window. But instead of a desk, there is now a round table and numerous seats. Those who take their places at this table, you've all met before. Although there is one person out of place, for you know her to not be one of the ancillary of the clan. I'm not sure if you've met Zoya, Madeleine. Do you know who Zoya is?
Not since Madeleine came back to the city. She knows of her from before. She knows that it is a ghoul.
You would have heard in passing that it is a ghoul turned Cainite. Been so for some years now. Everyone else at the table you recognize. You recognize your Prince Ulrich. You recognize his sire, Lady Katerina. Zoya, you've seen in passing and know of. And of course you know the Seneschal. Along with yourself, these make up the 5 most powerful Lasombra within the 2 domains. I assume you take your seat.
She does. Madeleine just, as she enters, she won't say much. She will just nod or curtsy as appropriate to her betters. But she won't say anything. She won't, like, she will nod at Ulrich, but she's gathered as much as this is probably not a. She figures that this meeting is probably not to congratulate everyone about how swell things are going. Let's just say that.
No, and there is a final figure that enters the room as you take your seat, as everyone takes their seat. At first you don't see anything. The door just kind of opens by itself, but you know someone is opening it. Probably the effect of some sort of obfuscation. But the figure emerges as something clad in horrible black armor. It looks veritably demonic. This. despite its grotesque, violent, almost maleficent appearance, it does not appear to be. It does not appear aggressive this evening. In fact, it walks with an incredible posture, actually, for one of its great size and appearance. It moves with incredible refinement. But it does not say anything. It merely takes the seats assigned to it.
Madeline will just. She's probably going to stare, even though it's bad manners and stuff, but yeah, like, this is not something Madeline has seen before, so she will just, like, take a few moments to just try to figure out what exactly this is, but yeah, she gives this a fairly good look over and just tries to gather exactly what this is, and but she doesn't say anything.
It looks over the entire table briefly. The only person it really seems to fully register, though, would be the Seneschal. Would you actually like to roll me 1 second if I actually set up Discord properly to give you a better idea of how the room reacts and feels about this little about this figure, considering it's obviously garnered Madeleine's attention. So just set us up in Dice Roller 1. And once you set up, roll perception empathy to gauge each person's reaction. It'll just be one roll for everyone, not a roll for each individual.
Perception, empathy, going once. All right. That's 3, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 successes. All right. Well, Katerina herself looks very unfamiliar and reacts in a similar way to you. She doesn't seem to recognize this, whatever it is. Zoya reacts with unfamiliarity, but almost with perhaps more knowing or understanding. She doesn't seem as phased by it as perhaps you two are. The Seneschal responds with a kind of a genial nod as the armored figure nods to him. Neither two seem particularly phased by one another, though it's perhaps the how to say. You sense a level of deference from the Seneschal that you have not witnessed before. The only time you would have seen this sort of deference would have been when the Seneschal was dealing with the prince, which you have perhaps seen once. during the original creation of the Bruges Lasombra Cappadocian alliance. That's where your memory harkens back to, in how these two seem to deal with each other, at least in this brief interaction. Ulrich, interestingly, seems to have the most clarity out of anyone in the room. He does not act as if this figure is unfamiliar, and seems to react in many ways as the Seneschal does. Moreover, out of everyone in the room, he seems the most at ease.
Madeline is not going to say anything unless spoken to. So she's just taking mental notes and just sitting there and tries to get as comfortable as possible.
Very wise. The this kind of it's towering. It's the largest figure in the room. Takes a seat. Takes one of the larger chairs. The chair doesn't actually buckle under the sheer weight of the armor, though. Obviously, it's clearly supernatural. You can guess that it's probably that was probably accounted for.
Madeline, with her knowledge, would guess that this is probably some sort of usage of obtenebration. Is that like apparent or?
Roll me your Lasombra law. Your intelligence plus Lasombra law. 10, 9, 3 successes. That and maybe a little bit beyond, you're not sure. It's definitely highly advanced.
It's way above her weight class. That much is for sure. But
interestingly enough, you've heard of several ways in which people can manifest darkness, similar in how the people can manifest arms of Ahriman, but they can shape it into other things, just as they can become it. The notion of darkness, of shadow as armor, was historically one of the first concepts to reach the minds of the Lasombra. This is one of but it was never fully acted upon until only a few hundred years ago, or maybe a few hundred to, well, about half a century to 1,000, to be fair. But funnily enough, that's actually quite a recent development of the power. It's quite an old power. You've heard of it's one commonly used by the Shadow Reconquista. Not those who follow the Islamic faiths or the Saracen Empire. In fact, it's wielded by their enemies, as the Shadow Reconquista of course, sides of the Crusaders, and is very much supportive of Christianity over the religion of Islam within the clan of Lasombra. You recognize it could it's almost certainly that power. It's an elder power. and allows them to, as you can obviously see, manifest the shadows around them as armor. It also very conveniently works as a way to mask one's identity,
Indeed.
while also maintaining physical form, which tenderbush form does not allow you to do. That is unfortunate. The seneschal rises from his chair as you all take a seat. He seems to be hosting, arbitrating, moderating for this evening's meeting, which makes sense. He's the oldest member of the clan within this city. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming. I've called this Shadow Council to discuss matters of import to the clan. One local issue and 3 larger issues. Before I begin, is there anything anyone would like to say or add? To our list of subjects this evening? We'll be discussing the enemy of our clan, the Ventru, known as Gerard. The disappearance of one of our mystics within the city. One of our own, gone rogue. In a looming war that threatens our hegemony in the region. Do you have anything to add, Madeline?
Madeline will, well, no. I mean, she has things she wants to say about Orsini or talk about, since she's learned a little, some things, but I don't believe there is anything Madeline would want to add to proceedings. I can't think of any, especially not in the, with this many people present.
Fair enough.
If not, then I'm forgetting, but that's too bad.
Sad days. If not, then we shall begin with the disappearance of one of our most prominent and powerful ancilla within the region, Abby Orsini. These aren't gestures towards the woman you've heard of in passing. This is Lady Zoya, his child. Lady Zoya, please step forward and give your account of what happened to Orsini in your own words. Why he has disappeared from this domain. What your thoughts are, if you do not know. She steps, well, she stands up, steps forward. To save you all the time, we suffered a double domain breach within the Merchants District. Lady Katerina ends up raising an eyebrow, but no one else really reacts. Around a week ago, she'll give it the exact date for anyone who asks. Toreador known as Lady Johanna was invited to the Blooming Rose, a known place of business and haven for my sire. During this meeting, they engage in a conversation about a gift my sire had given, bequeathed to Lady Johanna. But in turn, she insulted his hospitality and provoked him, antagonized him, and there was a physical conflict. Fortunately, my blood brother, Awesome, was there to assist my sire, and she was staked and restrained. I cannot say much more on this particular matter, as my sire did not inform me as to what he intended to do with this domain breaker. But from what I could see, it appears he was keeping her restrained for a few nights so as to decide what to do with her from that point. From what I could tell, it appeared as if he was, my sire was to release her after a few nights. I can only imagine after extracting a significant boon out of her for the offence, or bonding her for it. But these are merely my hypotheses. I only suggest these because it would not make sense to keep a person restrained and then release them without punishment after such a crass breaking the hospitality for one that should know better. "24 hours after this, an individual that simply regarded himself a padre entered the domain. I was not present at this time, and this is information I have obtained from my blood brother second hand. So if there is at any point you wish for his personal account, you know where you may seek him, and you may summon him to yourself if you so wish. This padre wanted to negotiate for Lady Johanna's release. Information I find personally puzzling, as Lady Johanna is a Toreador, and this figure clearly was not. I suspect, from what I have heard from my blood brother, that he is a blood magician of sorts, either a usurper or a Cappadocian.
Madeline will chime in there as she just raises her hand and quietly just says, he is of Clan Cappadocia.
I see. My brother did report strange figures that he could not strike, as if they were intangible, ones that could manipulate his mind to a limited extent, as if he were being dominated. This would explain those entities. The Padre wished to negotiate for Johanna's release, and my sire charitably said that she would be released within several nights, without charge. This, however, was not good enough for this Cappadocian, who then tried to press the matter further. My sire then requested that he leave. He did not, and insulted and antagonized my sire, much like his acquaintance had done so before him. And once again, there was physical conflict because of this antagonism and direct and deliberate provocation. This time, however, things did not go as my sire wished. The Cappadocian was possessed of an unnatural toughness. I can only assume of it to be fortitude. And perhaps in desperation or foolishness, I cannot say, summoned a spectre whose power almost destroyed the building itself. Perhaps limited only by the fact that this Cappadocian had it contained to a very loose extent. I believe, if I am remembering from my blood brother's statements correctly, it was contained within a book. although we did not have time to verify what make of book or what title it specifically was, or whether it was purely of the Cappadocian's own making. While this is happening, it appears this Cappadocian must have sent some of his spirit servants to assist Johanna, as she was able to make her way up the stairs from the basement from which she was kept to the back room, or the corridor connecting us to the back room on the ground floor, which is then when she and her sire fled together. They managed to escape the area, but the escape was loud and noticeable, as the cart that they fled upon was heavily damaged, and it had lost a wheel. Upon following up on local gossip, we managed to discover that it had travelled through the central market, up through Old Town, up through the Nobles Quarter, well, upon the periphery of the Nobles Quarter into Justinopolis Mount.
Which would make sense with this Cappadocian domain.
After this, Orsini vanished. Sorry, she would say my sire. My sire vanished. Why, I cannot say. Perhaps this was merely the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were. Although he did leave a letter that he sent for the fledgling Irene to collect, I do not know if she has shown her sire yet. Ulrich simply shakes his head. She has not, although I will inquire when I return to my domain. I see. Perhaps this will give yourself some insight as to why he left. It is how he left that concerns me. After he left, I spent the next few days exploring the area quite thoroughly and found that he had left behind an oubliette. Madeleine Royal Lasombra, because you don't
I
have
was
this law.
just about to ask if it's the same role as before.
Yep, you don't have a BIS law, but Lasombra law functions as a pretty good substitute, to be fair.
Only one success.
Okay. You've heard of oubliettes in the past. They are underground claustrophobic prisons made of absolute darkness. They're known to be something of the dirty secret of the Lasombra clan. they're used for many purposes, but in many cases, in the most three common cases are prisons, recruitment tools for other abyss mystics to study and meditate on the abyss, and the third of which, a direct portal to the abyss itself.
Was there any signs of what if he has left the city, or are you suggesting that perhaps he has left in a more substantial way?
I cannot say, but if he has, even if he has journeyed to the oppressive dark, it does not mean his end. He is an accomplished scholar of our clan. If he did leave using the Oubliette's power, he would be no worse off for it, perhaps even more powerful.
Madeline will look to the Primogen as to see if whether or not he or anyone has anything to say just before she starts.
I believe the real question here is, what are we to do about these double breaches?
Indeed.
Now, it is possible that Orsini provoked these reactions to himself, but even if that were true, that does not change the facts of the situation. And we would be remiss to abandon one who has great respect among our clan and among some of our elders.
Well, I do believe that I can predict what is probably going to be the response of the Toreador in question. I spoke to her not too long ago.
What did she have to say on the matter?
She was uncharacteristically, well, tight-lipped about this situation. But I've gathered as much, and this was also before this incident took place. Well, both of these incidents took place. The price of this dress was a drink of his blood. I do believe that our dear brother, maybe somewhat successfully, wanted to blood bond this Toreador. Maybe her vanity is simply too great to deny beauty in a piece of clothing. I cannot tell, but I think it would be fair to assume that they would claim that he planned to blood bond her all along, and could perhaps put the case forward that he simply lost his senses once she denied him and said no to the gift, denying the blood bond. He forced it upon her. That would be likely a defense from their part.
A weak one. I find it more likely that he had planned for her to reject the gift all along. so
Quite
that he
likely.
can declare her in breach of his hospitality, and therefore in breach of the domain of his clan. One with flimsy legal footing, but one I would be willing to support. And he told me in the first place. Unfortunate. An intelligent idea, but not as well executed as one of his age should be. But regardless, I leave this to the table, and then I shall add my own opinion on the matter. He literally leaves it to the table.
Madeline will look around and just say, would the fact that we do not know exactly what happened, could this be a or would it hurt our case to perhaps try to inquire as to the breachers what happened to our dear brother? We do not know where he is. Maybe they know. I know this is flimsy, but it would be a way of putting more pressure on them to call into question whether or not they also, while breaching the domain, actually, in the confusion and the chaos, actually killed our brother and we are just not aware. That would make it quite a lot more serious, the crimes, but
I can arrange for this if the rest of the table is comfortable with the idea. Roll me your manipulation. Manipulation, either the highest of your expression or leadership, and add your clan influences dice to the roll. To see if you can convince the table to go along
manipulation,
with
what
your
was
idea.
it, leadership or?
The highest of your leadership or expression.
Okay, that makes sense. That's...
And then add your clan
Yeah,
influences as bonus dice.
8. Wow!
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Only one figure remains completely faceless and uncaring of the idea, and that's because you can't see it. It's the masked armored figure. Zoya interjects. Well, if they have driven my sire to suicide, it would only be fitting that they be condemned for it.
It also helps that none of us are exactly sure what happened to him or where he is or if he is still here. As long as no one knows for sure, well, they can in no way blame us for asking questions for those who attacked him the last anyone saw him.
The
No?
absolute scandal of destroying a Lasombra within their own domain would be cause for great uproar within the city. In fact, one could accuse the clan itself of breaking the treaty. We could extract enormous amounts of leverage from that idea,
That as well.
I
However,
suggest we pin it on the Toreador, not the Cappadocian. They are our allies, and I'd rather that the enemy be weakened and not one who owes us their allegiance.
indeed, and I want to stress that this is, while it is my idea, leave, I would wait with the final decision until we discuss the threat that our dear seneschal mentioned to the compact between us, the Cappadocians, and the Bruja, which is apparently a thing that I am not one certain of what is constituting this, but if there is a danger to the triumvirate, well, I would not wish to endanger this any more than it is already is, but so that discussion will come later. Go ahead, Chris.
I was trying to do something, but Minicam Microphones cares not for my flippantry. That's a shame. The armored figure speaks with a gravelly voice. I'm not going to try, because my throat is already sore. But it simply says, normally, we would destroy such wretches within Jerusalem. The price one pays for breaking the honor and the hegemony of the Lasombra is death. My apologies to those who have not yet met me. My name is Abbas. I am the scourge of Jerusalem. And come here as representative for my sire, Prince. As I have said, normally we would simply destroy them, as the Prince would dictate. But I understand that circumstances here, they are different. If you believe you can cripple your opponent while empowering yourself, I would say seize it. I am in agreement. My seneschal speaks wise words. And this would do a good job of capping Toreador ambition within the domain. They're the only one of the Magic Circle faction within Odessa to hold a core position. We can use this to bring them into question. Even if we can't have them framed. This is assuming they haven't destroyed Orsini. In which case, this punishment is entirely justified. And they already have broken the domain twice. In which case, we should extract a large boon out of them if we are not able to apply as much pressure as we need to secure a more concrete accusation of murder of another canine. If nothing else, we will be gaining something of significance. I am aware this Toreador loves to rack up her debts. Let us see if we can teach her a thing or two about how much debt is too much.
Honestly, I am quite surprised that she has not learned this yet, but oh well.
You are a teacher, if nothing else, Seneschal.
Indeed. Although my most important lessons she has not been willing to undergo, which is sad, but oh well.
Then I believe we are settled. I find myself largely in agreement with your words, Seneschal Madeleine. And we will proceed with your plan. I will summon her to me, and I'll make sure to put the pieces in place. If she believes fully that she has murdered Orsini, then she will not be able to refute the accusation, and neither will those that defend her.
This will be a potentially very good thing. The Toreador are... It would be a good thing to have them some sort of check on them.
I'm aware this Johanna deals with Gerard. We may
Even
be able
more
to
reason.
trade this boon for the blood bond that we wanted all along.
A most fortuitous turn of events. Considering we could have been sitting with no suspects, a missing member of our court, and nothing to gain from it. The loss of my brother, a person I have known for quite some time, will not be easily replaced if he is indeed not returning anytime soon. But our clan will persevere. We always do.
I'm sure he'll return with much to offer to the clan and many accolades to show us all. But with these domain breaches dealt with, we should move on to our second topic, our enemy Gerard. I have several contacts in many different circles within this city, and I've seen a large amount of money being moved around, not just by the venturer, but by Gerard himself. I've been keeping careful tabs on who has been dealing with who with this man. Just one more reason to put a cap on the Toreador. It appears the venturers seem to be mobilizing. And I've been made aware that Gerard appears to be investing a great deal of money, not just into his little project, but into the military.
Concerning?
Perhaps this is simply part of his grander plan to construct his fanciful cathedral. Perhaps it plays into a different plan entirely, one that involves much more bloodshed. Either way, whatever he tends to do with it, we don't want him to gain anything from it, in particular credibility. It is possible that he'll use his growing influence within the military to squash local Crusader remnants and criminal organizations out in the heathlands and the wastelands. While few of us possess much love for the Crusades, if one is to gain anything from them, it must not be Gerard. I would strongly suggest that we begin mobilizing our own contacts within the military to block any further progress. Perhaps, Madeleine, your friends among the common folk will be able to identify the individuals that he entreats with.
I will keep my ears very close.
The fledgling has done what she has needed to stall the project so far. Fortunately, no real work has begun yet. But we do not want him gaining ground in other areas.
Quite so.
Then that will be your task. I would suggest once you find those that he entreats with, to either bind them to your will or make sure that they are removed from the situation. That goes without saying.
Of course.
Should the need ever become necessary. And he just leaves the sentence hanging there as his kind of clawed fist just kind of lays on the table. His glowing eyes just gleam on over towards you, Madeline, as if that's all that needs to be said.
Well, unless we want to put ourselves in a situation as we discussed not moments ago, well, Gerard is many things, but he is not foolish. If it only was as easy as finding him and ending him, but it is not. Although I am flattered by your offer.
As I said, as the need arises. Well, if the need arises, you'll say. No more, no less. The next. We have Living war on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. No doubt the other clans are also making preparations in their own way. The aftermath of the Crusades have left some domains without princes, and former neonates and ancilla of those domains ambitious. We live in the middle of a crossroads. We live at the center of Assamite, Lasombra, Salubri, and Cappadocian domain. In addition, there are the remnants of the former Nosferatu Empire that spanned this entire region just 60 years ago. While no doubt all clans will seek to make gains from this war, and all clans will seek to prepare for this war, it is these five that stand to lose the most. But if they are successful, those who will see to gain the most. I suspect Prince Weinhardt of the Nosferatu, the child of our former Nosferatu primogen, is planning against us. Not just the prince in general, but the Lasombra in particular, to weaken our positioning in the city. I have no doubt that they will use their formidable powers of obfuscate and information brokering to frame us for certain crimes. And how they'll seek to undermine our presence here. On top of this, we have several Assamite from the east looking to retake the territory they lost over 100 years ago. The Salubri are less of a threat to us, but they'll seek to destroy the Tremere at no cost. I've actually gained word from Accra, from one of my contacts. There was a great council held by their healers and warriors. They had initially planned to unite to destroy the usurpers outright. This, of course, is of no great loss to us, other than the potential repercussions of one power unbalancing the other. But they had also held a council here. I heard that the actions of the neonate caused them to be divided. The healers turned away from the warriors' plan. If we can further this divide, then we can seize what few assets they have left. We can encompass Accra. Katerina, I'll be sending you to one of the domains of Reinhardt if you wanna. Oh, Serena. Shit. You will embezzle yourself within the local authorities. You will report to me with what you find, and will use the resulting information to destabilize the domain and set it against itself before it can strike against us. Sister Madeleine. Or should I say Senator Madeleine? My apologies.
She just looks up and waits to be, well. Yes, my primogen.
As I actually get the correct map up for you. There is a city that has been recently conquered by the Ibeds. It is known as Amid, or Amida. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you have any academics, I'll just say you've heard of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, then she has.
It's a walled city. It's been around, was established as an Armenian,
Armenian?
not Armenian, no. Aramean settlement. Doesn't look to be Armenian, no. No. Also known as Aramaean or Aramaic Empire.
Ah, yeah.
Tribal Confederation, ancient times. You might not know that bit because that's really old. But it was it came into prominence when it was enlarged and walled by Constantius II, who was a Roman Empire from 337 to 361. It was then taken by a Sassanid, known as Shapur II. I.e. the Persians.
Mm.
Then it was retaken by the Emperor Julian. And then the city bounces around a bit. But it was then taken in 1085 by the Seljuk Turks, and then retaken in 1201 by the Ayyubid dynasty. The empire that Saladin ran before he died, but is still one of the largest empires in the Middle East. He was also known as the Saracen Horde.
Mm.
It's not anything particularly special. It is perhaps a fairly large settlement within the region, large enough to have a princedom. You know that much. It's a walled city, much like Edessa, but not not as valuable. It is right next to a river, however, so it is quite an arable area. Plenty of agriculture.
And where is it compared to, like, geographically?
It's sort of northeast of Odessa.
Northeast of Odessa. Okay.
I couldn't tell you how many days, judging by this map. Apologies.
No, but it's a bit away. Like,
it's a few days away. Yeah.
okay.
You would pass through Telgoran and then to Amid. So probably 2 to 3 days, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe further. It depends on the scale of this map. It might even take you up to a week. It wouldn't take you any longer than a week, particularly for traveling on your own.
Fair enough.
And more that your duty keeps you bound to your city. So it is not my place to give you commands.
Madeline will just look at Ulrich for a moment.
Yeah, Ulrich does look at you. He says, there is, however, a favor I would ask of you. With my seneschal, I would desire for you to set up a relationship with the local Assamites. To play on our joint sense of the same for the bitter crusade. The Assamites were one of the clans hardest hit by the Crusades, and we can play on this divide to weaken the Salubri entrenchment within the West. It would be in our best interest to form alliances with clans before they begin, and the Assamites, though difficult for us to gain their trust. Once we have their word, it is unlikely they will break it. They're not slimy and two-faced like the Nosferatu. Nor are they as divided as the Salubri are. We might have a word of the healers, but not the warriors. We might have a word of the warriors, but not the healers. But the Assamites we might be able to rely on when push comes to shove. But for that, I need someone as eloquent and as well regarded within the area as yourself. I would go myself, but unfortunately I'm needed within my domain.
As long as it has your blessing, I will undertake this task.
You will be rewarded graciously for your services. I'll look after the domain, slow down our activities. You do what must be done.
Well, I will have to make arrangements, of course, to travel. To make it as fast as possible, of course, but I think I should be able to.
I can arrange this for you. It is the least I can possibly do. I shall also send word and my seal. That way, I'll not lay a hand against you unless the hospitality were to be broken, which I know you shall not do. A very, shall we say, isolationist. However, I'd recommend caution. Do not expect to earn their trust within the entirety of your stay. They are deeply untrusting of other clans. They venerate their progenitor greatly, and as such, like many, they see themselves as above those that surround them. But they have come to respect the power we possess here. And if we can turn that towards a purpose that they deem fit in their mind, of the blood of a Cainite, then we should have reliable allies for the war ahead.
I know it is not the same, but I have already spoken somewhat successfully with the Primogen in this city, so I think I will manage.
Also keep your eye out for those creatures that was at that wedding, or that were at that wedding. It's possible we may also have unwanted participants in this war that we'll need to keep an eye on.
Those monsters? That monster? More of those things?
Potentially.
Well,
hopefully it shall not concern you at all, but if you witness anything, do not hesitate to contact us immediately and we'll see to it. We are in the rare position of being able to act and spread our resources further than other clans can.
I will keep my eyes open. And she looks. She looks both at Ulrich and to the seneschal. We'll just. When will I be leaving? Do you want me to leave as soon as possible, or within the next couple of days?
I'll send a message to the Princeton when I have a reply, and I'm assured of your safe passage, and we shall begin our movements. As of now, however, we shall remain as we are. Best not to breed suspicion too soon.
Very well.
We should not move. We should not all move at once. My princedom was a significantly large play. It has gathered a lot of attention, but we can use that to deflect from our other activities. I'll be hosting other events within the domain. And I'll be hosting them during your journey and the activities of our other clanmates. Which I believe brings us to our final topic. Yes. As many already know, as I've already stated, significantly eldritch member of our clan has left our affiliation. Many of you know of disease spreading across the north coast of Africa and is rapidly approaching our own domain. I suggest you take care of your herds. Make sure they are kept safe. Do not take them into the slums or areas that could be infected.
Do we know how close it is?
I suspect it shall not be long before the sweeping death reaches this domain. This month and next. If luck would have it, it will be delayed long enough for us to secure our herds and keep them safe from infection. should they be taken from us, we'll have to rely on the Cappadocians or maybe even the usurpers or the unicorns for help. That I do not wish to see.
How would the usurpers be able to help us?
There's a smirk towards Ulrich. They have methods.
I know so very.
Sorry.
I know so very little of their ways.
As do I. But that is what I am told. And the information I source from is rarely unreliable. Of course, the Salubri's role in this will be obvious. But even with the aid of the Cappadocians, I do not wish to see them gain upper hand over us, particularly not with war on the horizon.
Indeed not.
It would appear that disease shall hit us as we make our own movements. Often war accompanies disease, but not in conscious tandem. You should be wary so as not to be manipulated by this figure. No doubt, this is just the first step in a long phase plan. Worse still, I hear he has assistance from other clans, an association of sorts.
Oh, what is his name? Of this person, this betrayer?
He's known as Krog. Those he associates with, I have yet to discover their names. And I do not know the alias of which he now lives under.
But he lives close to the city, or, well, within the city.
No, far away. But his influence, his malfeasance. Malfeasance has been spreading. It's been growing larger. It's been spiraling out of control. And I do not believe he fully controls that which he is wielding. I would be unsurprised to see those of the clan of death among his ranks if he is spreading disease so virulently. Man, I'm pronouncing all my words this evening. Virulently. And no doubt he has others. This domain, nor this region is yet in a position to directly retaliate. All we can do is weather his storm for the moment. But I urge you begin contingencies and preparations of your own. For I have no doubt that he will soon seek to bring this region under his heel, as he is seeking to do with Africa. That is all I have to say on this matter. I have more information. This Karak. He is the child of the Prince of Jerusalem, who was formerly a resident of the Castle of Shadows. He is a mystic of the highest order, or should I say the lowest. This disease is not his end goal. He seeks something more, something else, perhaps something he can harvest from what he is inflicting upon the world now, or perhaps it is merely a result of what he is already doing. But with this plague, his power will only grow, so we must make sure to minimize as many casualties as we can. The dead will do us no good here. We must steer the Cappadocians away from their curiosities. You must convince your princedom in the righteousness and pragmatism of keeping this region healthy and lively. If not, this figure will only grow more powerful. And not just influentially. We have reason to believe he'll become personally more powerful from every death. And if there are those to die, ensure that the Cappadocians seal away their dead. The restless unliving could perhaps be part of this very plan. Better they remain within your alliance than with him. Be particularly alert for any interlopers. He may send witnesses or agents to take advantage of this calamity that is approaching you. But that is all this princedom has to offer. Oh, sorry, you would say that is all this the princedom of Jerusalem has to offer. Other than that, we know little more than you do.
Well, are the other clans in this princedom privy to this information?
No, Jerusalem fears that if it gets out that a rogue Elder Lasombra is bringing harm to the domain, it would unseat us as the greater power in the region. This must be dealt with internally.
Very well.
Once Karak has been destroyed, we can begin spreading knowledge of his organization to other clans and allow them to do the rest of the work for us.
I only ask because this would be a problem if others knew that it was indeed a Lasombra, but that is not the case. But it also presents us with an opportunity. If we can secure much of the blood supply, while others do not have the time to prepare, and certainly are left wanting, well, this would be maybe not on a clan basis, but this could be quite beneficial for quite a few members of our clan to provide blood to those needed.
If there is a time to utilize your vast, long, accrued herds, this would be the time. We would be able to minimize any fallout politically with the other clans and to accrue a great deal of many boons from them. No doubt there are others in the lesser clans that would do the same. So be aware that you'll be competing with them.
Well,
Perhaps
I have never shied away from a little competition.
As the Seneschal of a secure domain, perhaps you could acquire those herds that are perhaps hesitant in their insecurity. Perhaps if you were to grant them a greater alternative, a safer alternative from disease that strikes against their families, perhaps you could chip away at their herds and accrue one of your own. You would say another one of your own.
Quite so.
It goes without saying that everything said here is not to leave this room. It may only be discussed with those present at this meeting. No other clans to hear about this, not even the bourgeois the Cappadocians. We have informed them of the approaching plague, though not its cause. And we will approach them when the time is right about Johanna's indiscretions if it comes to light, if it is required to come to light. As for Gerard, maximize the damage this plague causes to his plans. Ensure that the venture are crippled by the plague.
That would be perhaps one of the best outcomes.
Keep the competition within the magic circle healthy. Toreador destabilized and the Ventrue crippled. Use a vacuum for the Tremere to take control. Then we can use that to secure our alliance with the Atomites. But that is all for this meeting. Albus, Give my regards to Prince Millicent. I thank you and he for accommodating us at this meeting. On the contrary, you have accommodated me. I'm within your domains, after all. But I should return. You are quite right. I shall send your regards. No doubt, the Princedom of Jerusalem shall look forward to cooperating with you all in the future. Have a pleasant evening. Remember to seize the night and all that comes with it. Take a seat. He won't take a seat. He'll get up. He'll begin to take his leave. He'll open the door and he'll close it, and all will be silent. This meeting is adjourned. You may all be dismissed.
Madeline gets up, curtsies, and just says, "Until we meet again."
Quite so. Congratulations on your new title. One long in waiting.
I thank you very much for your kind words.
We'll compliment Zoya also on her recent good work in maintaining and expanding on Orsini's business in his absence, and pay his compliments to his child as well. Auric and he simply exchange some small talk as people begin to leave the room. Zoya and Katerina leave. And then Auric will offer to leave with you.
And Madeline will accept.
And with that, the Lasombra will walk their separate ways.
Thank you very much. ST for ST, player for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.